And thank you all for definitely coming in. I know that there'll be more people coming into this space, but you are here already. So we're going to watch this really quick and then we're going to get started with our time together.
Hi, my name is Miko, and I am the founder of Let Go Be Great. And I just wanted to say that in February 1st, there is something amazing happening. And it all started in 2018 when I started posting quotes to my social media during Black History Month about these heroes and sheroes who were all around us. And I started posting those quotes because I wanted to make some first moves, and I never saw anyone who looked like me make them. And so I started researching and finding all of these amazing African Americans, heroes and sheroes, who I call are my historians, who are both past and present, who made some bold first moves where they released some things, they learned some things, they grew and they moved. And I wanted people, including myself, to see that making a first step is possible. And so in 2018, this happened where I started posting these quotes. And then this journal, A Journey Through Black History, Starting With Your Own, was born, where I wanted not only people to see a quote, but also do something with the quote that they received or that they saw during that particular month where I was putting all of these quotes out. And I wanted them to do it in community. And so there were so many historians that I reached out to who definitely have made some bold first moves in their lives. And I wanted not only myself to know them, but so many more people to know them. And we met and they came into this challenge, came with those journals and started writing some things and started speaking about all the things that they had learned. And individuals who came into that room felt that same sense of urgency to start, to write, to begin. And so guess what? This year, I am asking all who are in the room, those of you who are looking for Black History Month things to do, those of you who are trying to figure out what are you going to do in your classroom, or trying to figure out what are you going to do for your team for Black History Month. Here's the challenge to do that. I want you to join us because in this challenge, this 4-week virtual challenge, is going to be journaling. It is going to be storytelling because every single person has a story. And also it's going to be tons of affirmations from Black historians and others who are making some bold first moves in their industries. And also you. So I want you to join us for the second annual Journey Through Black History. And everyone again has a story, and we're ready to write it boldly with you. So every single week, there'll be themed weeks on things moving from a seed all the way to a butterfly. And we want you in the space. So join us for our second annual virtual Black History Journal Challenge. You can follow us at Let Go Be Great to see all the quotes, because they will be posted every single day during the month of February. And you can find us at bit.ly. We are History 2 and cannot wait to see you in the virtual room. Have a great month on purpose.
All right, so we are so excited to be here tonight and so excited that you are coming in the space too. My name is Tamiko Nettles. I'm the founder and CEO of Let Go Be Great. And every year we have this challenge to ensure that we are not alone in anything that we go through. And knowing also that there are people always around us to move us to the next step if we just open our mouths to share what we need. And so I do that definitely in our educational community. And I am so honored to be doing that tonight with so many panelists who are so ready to share their stories, their journey with you so that you can continue to move forward and be great too. And so the focus definitely this week is what you see in front of you. This week, it is all about the journey of a seedling and a larva who begin to break out of their shell And one of the quotes I know I stated was, every first is a reminder that the impossible can be done. And this entire challenge is around different things that happen as we try to figure out some impossibilities. So last week, we focused in on the focus below, which is a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. And so we talked about the Greensboro 4 movement and how these 4 men actually sat at a counter because they were not served appropriately and stayed there. So they were reminders to everyone in the room last week that sometimes we have to sit down for things to be changed, and sometimes we have to reflect on our past history, what has happened before, so that we realize these things are not things to happen again. And then this week is all around first moves. And then sometimes our first moves can be so impossible, but sometimes it looks like that. But until it's done, it becomes permanent that we can continue to make others as well. And so this week, February 8th, there is a figure skater, and her name is Debbie Thomas. And why she's up here is because she, in 1984, February 1st, 1984, she was actually the first figure skater to win a major championship. And she also was a pre-med student. And so because she was able to do 2 things at once, that's pretty amazing. And I know the individuals who are here tonight also have done multiple roles in terms of what it is they are doing too. And so our hope definitely during this time is that you also think about, what are the impossibilities and the first that you need to tackle? Because there are other people that you see on this screen who have done some very impossible moments. They're still standing. They have made history. And I know that you also can too. And so if some of you have this journal, awesome. If you don't, it is okay. We're welcoming you in this space to actually think through how you are going to make history, how you are going to make some of these bold first moves. And so in this journal, it always starts with a quote, and you're going to hear quotes from all of these amazing historians tonight. And with those quotes, the goal tonight is to take a moment to reflect and also to think through how this quote applies in your life. And then also maybe how it applies in someone else's life. And then think through, what are some action steps that you could possibly take around what it is these historians share, or any of the historians share in the journal as well. And then the other part is like, what are you going to do with this quote after? What are some affirmations that you need to say to yourself to continue to get you on this path to making those bold first moves? And our theme this time of the challenge is around something that I know I have to keep reminding myself of, which is, what is stopping you from making it? So all tonight, these historians are going to share not only their quote, but also what tried to stop them, and then how they actually move forward too. So if you have pens, if you have paper, I'm going to ask that you get those things out. If you have the journal, just consider too, in the journal, what we're going to do at the end of this challenge is have you share what quote is going to be your bold first move. So as we're going through this time together, think through that. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to change? How are you going to grow? Who do you need beside you? And we got a lot of panelists here tonight who can probably be that thought partner with you as well. So with that, I definitely want to move into our time together. And if you are here in this room, and I know some people are trying to watch us live too on Facebook, if you could put where you're calling in from the chat so we know who is actually here, please do that now, because we want to make sure that we are welcoming you in this space before we even start this entire process. So put in there if you're calling from. We got somebody calling from New Orleans. Oh my goodness, yes. So excited that you're here. Who else is in the room? And our panelists, you can put where you're from too in the room as well. We got some Chicago people in the room. Yes. And someone put Chi-Town. New York is in the house. Yes, and we got Chicago as well. So excited. So as you all here, know that this chat is for all of us. So that if there is something that is resonating with you from each of these panelists, for you to put that in the chat, that encourages them. And it also engages other people who may also be thinking that same thing, but you just put it into words. So please use the chat as well. And we have 4 panelists here. We already went through the welcome and the history praise break, but we got 4 panelists who are here today to share more about them. So we got Meli MeL. Raise your hand so people can see you. Yes. We got Dr. Gloria Hall. Raise your hand so people can see you. Hey, we got Joyce A. Debrah. Raise your hand so people can see you. And we got Mr. Freddie Pelzer. Raise your hand. Woohoo. So we got all of these amazing individuals in this space tonight. And I hope that during this time that they share, you all have time to just think about what are those first moves that they made? What are some struggles that they may have had? How do those struggles or those first moves represent something that you have gone through? And then what may be stopping you from getting there? Because all this time that we're going to have together tonight, we're going to have an opportunity definitely at 7 to go into some breakout sessions with these amazing panelists, and then also think about what do we need to do next on our journey. So we want to hear from you all. We want you to share some of these things. We don't want you to leave this space, even though some of you are off camera. We want to ensure that you are here during this entire time and that you get fed as well. So our panelists, because I've been talking so much, I want you to unmute and share maybe one hope that you have for people tonight before we actually start with each of our panelists. And Meli MeL, I saw you off mute first, so go on and share. What is one hope?
Oh, hello, everyone. I'm so excited and happy to be with all of you in this space. So welcome, welcome. And you said one hope that everyone can walk away with tonight. It would be that you leave here better than when you came. So that's always a really, really good way to walk away from something that you invest your time in, right? You want to feel like your cup was made full in some kind of way. So that's my hope for everyone here today.
You're pointing, Tamiko. Is that
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who want to pop in, just pop.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce, and I hope I'm going to go with the theme of let go, be great. I hope you let go of fear. I hope that you let go of fear. Every one of us is a champion in our own right. So I know that we are among champions, and the deciding factor is whether or not you let go of fear.
I am Gloria, and I would hope that at the end of the evening, we realize that Black history isn't some elusive thing. It's what we are, all of us. Everybody here is living Black history, and that some new ideas about how you celebrate our history come out of the conversation this evening.
And last but not least, I'm Freddie Pelzer. Hopefully, people understand that your past does not dictate what your future is going to be. I'm living proof that the mistakes of my past will not determine my future. So people need to understand it, because I think people believe that once you do something wrong or once you go down a certain path, that's the only path that you can go down. But that's not the case.
Ooh, I thank each of our panelists for sharing those things. I was writing down all of those things that you all shared because I want us to go back to that before. But those who are in the room, if there was something that you heard or a hope that you want out of this night, I want you to unmute and share that too. So there's a hope, and you can put it in the chat because maybe that's easier. Put it in the chat if that's needed too. So a hope that you have for tonight before we get started. You can unmute or put it in the chat.
Hi, Tamika. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. And I'd like to thank you for having this space and thank you to all the panelists here today. I think the quotes that you gave were amazing. And the one thing that I want to get out of this today is to move forward and be great. That's the one thing I want to get out of this in this new journey of manifestation. So that's the thing that I want to get out of this. And I'm happy to be here in this tribe and looking forward to this along the journey of Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mishala. So glad you're here. So I know I don't want to belabor this because, I can because, I have that teacher mindset that, okay, maybe somebody's going to say something and they're afraid to say it. They want to put it in. So I won't do that tonight. I promise. But if it is, there's something that you hope and that you receive out of this night, I just hope you hold on to it. And that also that during the time, especially when we do our breakout rooms, that you'll be able to share it and move forward in that as well. So thank you so much again for being here as well. So with that, we have one of our first historians up, and that's Meli MeL. Meli MeL, definitely before you share your quote, to definitely just give a brief synopsis of who you are as this creative artist and mompreneur, and then also move into sharing what your quote is.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tamiko. So hello again, everyone. My name is Meli MeL. I am a creative artist, graphic designer, and I'm also the founder of the Sistar Loop, which is a platform for women-owned business and professionals. And so I'm really, really excited to be here with you all because Black history, of course, is extremely important. And I just love Tamiko's initiative to remind us all of Black people here in the US, worldwide, that every day that we live, we are creating Black history. So I just love that whole concept. And my quote that I want to share with you all is, "Let the heart soften so that the blessings can flow." Let the heart soften so that the blessings can flow. And that quote has been near and dear to me because, in going back to what Tamiko said about first moves and doing things for the first time, for me personally, I have been on a deep dive healing journey. And it started with going to therapy for the first time back in 2020. And it was interesting because mental health was always something that, in practicality and oh, sorry, can you guys hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay. I always knew mental health was important. And it was something that I would advocate for. But in 2020, it was the first time that I came to a point in my life where I realized that I need this. I am beyond what I know is my capacity to move forward in a productive way, in a healthy way. And I just knew that even though I wasn't understanding what was happening to me internally, that I needed help. And so that first that first dive into my healing journey started with therapy back in 2020. And so since then, I've been really enjoying that process of really challenging all my internal beliefs that I had before. You know, when you start really breaking down trauma and what that is and how it shows up in your life, things that you wouldn't even, you know, when we think about like what happens or how we show up, our behaviors, our patterns, you know, it's really the subconscious that is really taking over when this is happening. And so what happens when you're kind of healing and you're, you know, really truly understanding yourself is that your self-awareness starts to go up and you start to pay attention now. You don't just operate from like this space of autopilot because that's what you're so used to. You now take a pause. You now say, I'm used to responding in this way. Now that I have information and now that I've, you know, been working on my self-awareness, I can make a different choice this time, which will produce a different outcome, right? So it's all these things that come up. But when it comes to, you know, letting the heart soften, so what that means to me is when you finally reach a space within yourself where you're willing to be vulnerable, where you're willing to really shed all the things that, all the armor that you put on because you feel that you have to be tough and you feel like you have to, you know, you don't have time to deal with XYZ stress or XYZ thing that's happening. But what ends up happening is that the more we're suppressing, the more we're repressing, the more we're putting away and not dealing, we're actually hardening not just ourselves, but our hearts. And so letting the heart soften so that blessings can flow is really about truly allowing yourself to feel all the difficult things, to really pause, just stop. Life is going to continue whether it's ready for you or not, right? And, you know, there might be moments in your life where it's too much now. It's too much. And I know that I'm not functioning at my best. Something is happening. This is the body, the universe, you know, just everything telling you, you need to pause, you need to stop. You need to let the heart soften. When you let the heart soften, you allow blessings to come. What does that mean? It means that because now you're seeing things from a different lens, a different perspective, you're taking on healthier ways of dealing with whatever it is. Because you're now able to move in different ways, respond to things versus reacting to things. It really is an opportunity for the universe to kind of show you like, oh, wow, look how much you've grown. You know, this used to take you from 0 to 100. And now you're like, oh, okay, this is just a moment for me to pause. And that's okay, right? And I think that the more that we, again, shed the things that harden us, that, you know, that armor that we feel that we have to wear just to survive another day. And I'm not saying that the armor is not important. There are moments where you do need the armor, but it's just as important to know when to put the armor down and to just allow yourself to be vulnerable and to allow yourself to recognize that I need to be easy on myself right now. I need to take care of myself right now. And if that looks like creating boundaries with other people, if that looks like, you know, saying no, if that looks like just taking the time that you need, in whatever shape, way, or form that looks like, even if it's just, you know, I'm a mom, I have 2 boys, so my life every day is crazy. So sometimes I just need to go for a walk. I need to go for a walk, if it's an hour, whatever it is. You know, just really paying attention to what you need. Your body will tell you if you listen. And so You know, my quote, "Let the heart soften so the blessings can flow," is really about understanding the importance of healing, and how when you are open to healing, you're open to being vulnerable, you're open to putting down the armor, you're allowing for new things, new ways, and actual blessings to come into your life.
I saw definitely a lot of head nods, and also you gave some specific ways to do just that this entire time. But I'm gonna challenge you, Meli MeL.
Okay.
Because all those things are definitely things that we hear.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we hear it and then we get to reality where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna let my heart soften, but I want to hold on to this hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hold on to this unforgiveness. I want to hold on to what happened in the past, right? And although I know the future is coming,
Yep.
My heart is hard right now, and how do I open it, right? So I would love for you to definitely share maybe one way
Mm-hmm.
that you did that recently.
Oh, I love
Push you.
I no, I
One
actually
way
love that.
that
I
you did
love
that
it.
recently, and how and because this is all about what stopped you, right? Like what's stopping you from doing it. So what is that thing that you can give someone who may hear all of that, but now they like, how am I really going to put this in place when I want to stay there? And this could be brief, and this could be something for everybody, right? Like it's not just for Meli MeL. So feel free to put, some pieces too in the chat, but I'm going to open that up for you to share a little bit more on that.
Absolutely. So I love that, what you just said, Tomiko, because it goes back to like what ends up happening when you actually decide to go on a healing journey. And the thing is that it's not a linear process. You are going to have ups and downs. There's going to be moments where you actually go back to like your old systems, your old ways. But the beautiful thing is the self-awareness. So something that happened recently. So I'm someone who has had to deal with depression and anxiety. And that can be very crippling. And the difference between before and now is that when I catch myself spiraling, which still happens, right? My mind is racing, thousands of thoughts coming at once. And I kind of go through this paralysis where it's like, I don't know how to continue from here. Now, for some people, that's just a norm. But for me, I know that this may have served me in some weird way before, but now I recognize that it doesn't. And if I allow it to continue, it's going to make things worse for me. So I would say the first thing is recognizing that you are at a place where whatever systems, whatever it is that you're going through, or whatever it is that you're still holding on to, that you should let go of, but you just can't, that there's a reason for that. There's a reason that you're holding on to it. There's a reason. And, it's like what you said, Tomiko, somebody could tell, anyone, like, yes, mental health is important and we need this. And like I said, I was someone who was always an advocate of mental health. But I never really understood how it related to me until I reached my own personal kind of like rock bottom. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I would say for someone else who may be struggling with, okay, when do I need that push? I feel like it's up to you, honestly. Like you have to be so honest with yourself. And that's where the vulnerability comes in, because if you can't be vulnerable with yourself, it's going to be very hard to be vulnerable. If you decide to go therapy route, or, a trusted friend or a coach, whatever it is, however you would hope to explore these things further with someone else. you have to first admit to yourself that, okay, I need help, right? And I think that when you get there at that space, then you'll be able to pivot in a way that's going to actually help you. But if you're kind of like, I don't know, like where to start, how, if I'm ready for that next step, because it's going to mean going through so much and unpacking so many things. I mean, it's an individual journey, so no one can force you. But, I think when you hear other people speak of their experience, one, it allows you to not feel alone. And two, it's kind of like those gentle nudges that say, hey, it's okay if you actually take that first step, but no one's going to push you. You have to be the one to really want it and to embrace it once it's there.
Oh, thank you. I see some heads. I see some claps. Let's give her some love, definitely in the comments and also in reactions. You can use those too. If there was something that Meli MeL shared that resonated with you, drop that in the comments. Like, please drop it in, because she needs to hear that. And I already see the love already on the screen. I hope you're feeling it. But it's definitely a lot of things that I heard, and I just want to see, giving space to you all too. Like, what did you hear? So I'm going to give you like 30 more seconds. Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. Oh, be vulnerable with yourself. Accountability, and it's real big. For some reason, yours is real big. Accountability, and also, I hope. Oh, I saw someone's quote from before. Definitely want to leave better than they came. Thank you so much, LaToya. So vulnerability is good for me, and healing takes time. Yes. So I hope, definitely some things, Meli MeL, like respond back to them. But if you're here later, maybe you're in that room with Meli MeL so that you can definitely talk more about what it is that you are doing or what it is you need. And then what could your quote be? What could those things be in terms of, now she just gave you some tips on self-awareness, on vulnerability. So what are those things that could be beneficial to move you from one space to the next? So thank you, Meli MeL, for sharing. Definitely for sharing that. So our next person, because it keeps getting better, is Dr. Gloria Hall. And look, Meli MeL just gave some tips. And here's Gloria going to talk about some tools. So Gloria, I'm going to turn it over to you so you could just definitely just briefly share, what it is you do. And then also let's unpack this quote.
So, hey, everybody, I'm so excited. First of all, I think I want to go to Meli MeL's breakout room. I don't even want to be in my own breakout room, but that's a whole nother story. There were so many things that I connected with that she said, like starting the therapy in 2020. I was just talking to my therapist before we got on the call, and I'm like, I can't believe I've been consistent with this. But anyway, so for the people who I didn't meet the last time that we did this with Tomiko, and Tomiko, thank you so much, because what you've done is kind of like an impetus to me really wanting to know as much as possible about my own history and Black history. And my history is Black history. But so I, as a little girl, I was born when Rosa Parks wouldn't get up off her seat. I was born when the civil rights movement started. I was born the year that Emmett Till was murdered. I believe that we all are in a place in time where we're needed. And I'm trying to figure out, still trying to figure out what my big purpose is. And so all of the things that I have struggled with, I integrated a school as a little girl when I was in Texas. And the trauma that happened as I walked to school was so much that I stopped talking. For 5 years, I was a non-speaking little person. So the fact that I'm able to do this, the fact that I am now an associate professor at National Louis in the Department of Ed Leadership is not like, I'm not bragging, it's like a miracle. The fact that I got here and Freddie was here, and that's my dad's name, and Yesterday was his birthday, and it's been 12 years since he passed away. Like my ancestors, the things that my ancestors had to go through set me up for this position that I find myself in. My father was a sharecropper. His mother died in childbirth because they couldn't find anyone who would attend to a Black woman. And so when he was 7, his mother was gone. So I never even got to know her. And so when I hear those stories of my past, and I realize how much of a miracle I have actually become to be in this space where I am. It was last year, the quote that I chose was kind of like me trying to find my place. But now that I found my place and I feel like I'm adding value constantly in the department that I'm in, there's only a few people who look like me. Higher ed is not a place that is good for us as Black and brown people. And it used to be really frustrating. So last year, when I chose a quote, it was more about me finding my place. This year, I've had to start to think differently about what it means to bring people along with me on this journey. It feels like we're in silos, right? Like the Black people I work with are we quietly meet with each other, and the white people are in silos. We hadn't been really moving the needle on our practice. And so we started a racial justice task force in National Louis. And as a part of that, I started reading and watching and listening to everything that I could, not only about Black people, but about ways that we can ensure that our schools are more equitable places. One of the things that I was listening to, thank you, Cindy. One of the things that I was listening to was a Brene Brown interview where on her podcast called Unlocking Us. And she wasn't talking about racist people, but now everything that I read, every sermon that I go to at church, everything that I hear helps me understand more clearly what I need to do on this path. So one of the things that she said in this podcast is that she has come to believe that people are really, and she didn't say everybody, but I'm kind of accepted everybody, is doing the best they can with the tools that they have. That she didn't say that let's build the toolboxes. I added that part because I started thinking like Donald Trump, like, dang, is he doing the best he can with the tool? And so, but the thing that it did for me, the quote did for me is not only did it help me give grace to people who I'm working with who sometimes just don't seem to get it, it helped me see them differently. So it took my level of frustration down with them a little bit. And we've been able to like build some bridges and have some conversations that we weren't able to have before. I don't think that anybody wakes up in the morning and goes, oh, I'm going to go out here and be an awful person. I'm going to go out here and be a person who doesn't care about others. So it's up to us to learn as much as we can to devour this history of ours. That I'm so mad that it took me until this age that I am now to start learning things about Fannie Lou Hamer, start learning things about the Montgomery bus boycott and why that worked. Start listening to James Baldwin because it did not happen in school. And so I'm building my toolbox so that as I have these experiences in higher ed, as I'm placing people into schools to be principals and superintendents, that they go into those spaces differently than before I met them.
All right, please, everybody in here, if there was something that Gloria said, and Cindy has already started off, like, I already see the hand claps, I see the head nods, I see the, oh my God, all of these things. If you had any of those emotions, I need you to put it in the chat or, put it up as a reaction, all of that. And someone, Joyce just said, figure out my big purpose. figure out these things. So Gloria, I'm gonna do the same thing I did to Meli MeL.
Yes, ma'am. And can I say one thing before you say it?
Yes.
So one thing is, if you're operating in the world believing that people are doing the best that they can, and that goes for relationships, that goes for everything, right? But for me, it was kind of like my work at school. Doesn't mean that you're soft on people who out here with microaggressions or out here doing things, not being so kind that we are overlooking things, but it's the way that we come at it, shaming and blaming. I've just found that doesn't work. And so me being different, I give myself grace, take a deep breath, and then deal with whatever this thing is. But when I come at people differently, I found that their reactions are different too. Okay, I'm sorry.
This is good because Freddie's quote is going to bring all this together. I didn't know how y'all were all related. I didn't even know, but I see how everything is all coming together. So Freddie, when you come up, go back to what she just said. I already see the semblance, but the people in the room got to see the semblance too. So yeah, we're going to pin that, hold that point, because it's going to be good, y'all. So if there's something, again, that Gloria said, that you are like, this is a step that I know I need to take, that I'm struggling with, write it down. Like, that's the beauty of journaling, right? Like, write it down. Like, you're going to make it very real right now because you have it now on paper. And so now there's going to be something in terms of what you do as a result of what you heard. And so that doing as a result of what you heard is going to be that action step that I'm hoping, and we're hoping tonight, that you put in place. Because if we write something down and we don't do anything with it,
yeah,
shame on us, right? But if we write something down and we do something with it, oh my, we got to give ourselves multiple pats on the back, and we got to share it with somebody else because it's so good that it don't need to stay with us, right? So I'm going to go back to Gloria, because Gloria said 5 different things. Like, she talked about tools. She talks about thinking about different people and how they may come at you, right? She talks about her why, behind why she is now in this role and what she has done in this role, even though she was at a different state before it. That's a whole testimony all in itself. And also talks about what it is that she herself, not anybody else, is going to put in place as a result of it. And so, Gloria, my question to you, because there may be someone who knows that too, like knows all of those different things, but it's one particular piece that I think can help out any person in any industry, is you have a mission and there are other people who may be on a different mission than yourself. And knowing what you just said in terms of these toolboxes, there may be somebody who's very stuck in their ways. So if I know that I have all these tools in my toolboxes and I'm trying to bring other people on to be in this space of love with all sharing our toolboxes, what's one recommendation that you can give?
I would say to lead that by example. I'm not going to change who I am because of how you're operating. And some of the things that I've seen that people are just like thinking and believing the most outrageous. I know it's outrageous. I know that it's kind of racist, right? But if you say to somebody that was racist, what you said, like all of a sudden, like everything turns off. And so I'm learning it. I'm figuring out what some of those tools are. And because of you, Tamiko, I'm like reading everybody's stuff. I got like piles of books that are going to help me try to figure that out. But I do think that it's a real thing. And I partner myself with other people who are like-minded too, to do writing and to do presentations. And y'all got to get my book. It's called Gloria Finds Her Voice.
Yes.
Gloria started talking. I forgot that part.
Yes.
It's the
so,
truth.
So this is so now she's writing to share that story too, right? That's an option as well. Sometimes you can talk to people, sometimes you can write about it. You could do all of this. And I want to pull up, there was a quote by Michelle, like, this quote is my mission currently. Like, I'm in judgment-free awareness. So like, that's powerful. And Joyce just wrote, like, the universe knew like all along what it is you needed and what it is to get there. So please continue to drop those moments in the chat. I know we have two more panelists to share before we get into our breakout rooms and our breakout spaces. And so I want to lend the floor. Thank you, Gloria, again. I want to lend the floor to our next panelist, who is Joyce A. Debrah. And Joyce's quote is up here. So Joyce, if you can unmute, share who you are, and talk about like these beautiful things. It's all flowing. Do you see it? It's all flowing. Okay. Go on,
I didn't
Joyce.
know. Look at all this I said, just running my mouth. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joyce Debrah. I will read my quote since it's so long. Consistency and discipline are my superpowers. I have learned that success is not a huge, grand event. It's the discipline of doing the right work or building the right habit that will get you to a goal and being consistent with it. And that may be as simple as 15 minutes a day, or jotting down a task, or 30 minutes a day of exercise. No matter what it is, make sure the habit aligns with your goals and values and that you are consistent. Success will be yours, one good habit at a time. So I will make this really quick. We have so many amazing people on, and I'm just a little girl from the south side of Chicago who got a story to tell from time to time, whose people came from Ghana, West Africa. As you all can see, I got all my Ghana stuff on today because Tamiko said, come represent. I don't sound like it, but I promise you all, I love Ghana. I love Africa. And if you knew my story, but God, if you knew my story, you'd be like, ooh, there's a praise in this place, okay? But the quote is so important because when you don't really, to Gloria's point, recognize how tremendous life is, you sometimes feel so little itty bitty and like, oh, what I did doesn't really matter. No one cares. No one actually heard me. No one actually saw me. No one actually recognized who I am, my voice. And so you begin to kind of fade to black sometimes. But these habits, being consistent, being disciplined, you'd be surprised who's actually watching. You'd be surprised who's actually listening. You'd be surprised who you're actually inspiring. So I know that success doesn't have to be this huge fanfare. You don't have to have a ticker tape parade. You know, some people want to be in the spotlight. Some people want to be on camera. Some people got to be on Facebook all the time. Some people got to be on TikTok all the time. Get a habit. Do a thing that you know you're good at. You know you're good at it. You know you're good at it. Oh, a good example, Chicago girl. Good example. The bakery on the south side here of Chicago. The woman, Sweet Bees. What's the woman's name? Somebody help me. 74th Street.
You talking about Brown Sugar Bakery?
Thank you. My memory's bad. That's why I have to write things down. Brown Sugar Bakery. This woman knew what could she do? Bake a cake. Now, if anybody wants to bake me a cake, my birthday is coming up. I prefer German chocolate. That's just a shameless plug. But here's the point. She knew how to bake cakes really well. That woman is now one of the only female chocolatiers, Black female chocolatiers for Hershey's right now doing baked goods. I may have messed up all that detail, but y'all can look it up, Google it, Google it, Google it, okay? The point is she did one thing really well. She started a business. She employed people. She got out there and shared her name and her talents with the world. And now people know who she is, and she is making big moves in this industry. A small thing can make a huge impact. So consistency and discipline are the only two things you need to be successful. All the other things that Meli MeL talked about, being self-aware, giving yourself grace, being mindful, right, are important. Gloria talked about this toolbox. What's in my toolbox? What do I need to do? Keep it simple. I love a KISS. Keep it simple, silly. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It doesn't have to be extravagant. And I know Brother Freddie is going to come up with something amazing because I heard him earlier. I know it's a tide coming. I see it. I feel it. It's coming. And you guys will begin to understand a very basic truth. Greatness comes in small doses. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much, Tamiko, for seeing enough of me, to invite me to this space. I appreciate you so much, and I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Oh my God. Okay, let's drop it. Drop the comments, drop the love, drop all of that in the chat. And Joyce, I'm going to ask you, like, so what is one thing? I know you shared a lot. So what is one thing that you may have had a hard time being consistent with that you now can do it in your sleep? Oh, sorry. I'm just
That was a big one. Wow, that I can do in my sleep. Oh, geez. Okay. Ooh, you got me, Tamiko. Let me think. You got me. Don't laugh at me, Melly. Don't laugh at me, Meli MeL. Oh, Lord, let me think. You know what? Something I can do in my sleep. You
And
know
while
what?
she's thinking,
Oh,
people, I want you all to use this chat. I know we're using it like, oh yeah, great job. But no, use this chat. What are the things, if there's something that's resonating with you that she just shared, and maybe you have been consistent with, and now that's your habit, put that in the chat because that can help you and Joyce come up with like, oh man, that's probably what I'm thinking of. But put those things in the chat. And if there's something that you have that's a resource around that particular thing, put that in the chat too, because we need all the love with that as well.
yes. Thank you so much. I think professionally, one of the things that I think that I do really well is encourage people. I consider myself a leader that really tries to focus in on what people can do instead of what they cannot do. And so in my practice, you'll hear a lot of people say, well, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not going, and even Gloria mentioned this a little bit when she talked about leaders. Leaders have a very hard time bringing other people along. So you can't shut people down if you're a leader, right? Like the definition of leadership is that you got people that are following you, right? And so if you don't encourage people on a regular and consistent basis, it is very difficult to lead them. And so sometimes leadership is not always about power and like this force and you gonna do what I said do. That's not leadership. Leadership is finding in people something that they oftentimes don't see in themselves and showing it to them in these very tangible and the soft ways, for lack of a better way to say it. Sometimes people can't accept what you see in them until they can see it in themselves. And a leader is able to see in you and see in someone else what they need, and then just gradually bring them to that understanding of who they are. So I think that I am a serial encourager. I find something good in everybody. Not Mr. Trump, though. Not him. Sorry, can't do it.
Yes, more love, share. Thank you so much, Joyce, for all of that. I hope we write these things down. I'm writing so much down. I hope y'all are writing some stuff down, putting some goals in place, all of that. And thank you, Joyce. Please show her more love in the chat. And our last but not least, we have Lieutenant Freddie Pelzer in the room. And so please unmute and share this particular quote and the semblance you already saw.
Tamika, how you gonna put me behind all these great ones? Oh my gosh. Um, like she said, I'm Freddie Pelzer, newly Lieutenant Freddie Pelzer for the Sandy Springs Fire Department. Long time coming, so I appreciate that. My quote is, "Do not stress about issues that are not in your control." I've learned that once the stress has overtaken my decision making, the outcome is never how I expected. Um, Man, it's been it's been a long road. Y'all probably don't know Tamiko and I went to high school together. So that's my home girl from Atlanta. Y'all might have her in Chicago, but she's a home girl from Atlanta. But wow, y'all just blew me away tonight. Miss Gloria, um, you said something about being a child of the civil rights movement. Well, I was raised in Atlanta, but I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, and my family is from Lowndes County, Alabama. So if a lot of people don't know, that was the epicenter for civil rights in Alabama. It was the most racist county in the state. Yet my cousin was the first black sheriff in Lowndes County. My grandparents and my great grandparents owned land that we still have in our family. Hey, we own 80 acres in Lowndes County, Alabama. That never happens. So when I think about my quote, it's like we stress about so much, y'all. We stress about stuff that we just can't control. So I have three teenage kids, well, half grown kids. I have an almost 21-year-old. I have a almost 19-year-old and an almost 17-year-old. And my goal for them is to just focus on you. It's okay to be selfish when it comes to your success right now. Y'all don't have any kids. Y'all all are doing great things. My oldest, he played baseball in college. He got an associate's degree in Indiana, and now he's going to aviation mechanic school. My daughter, she goes to South Carolina State on a full ride. She's on the dean's list. And my youngest, he's a baseball player. He's a junior in high school, and he has a 3.75 GPA. And these are things that I had to realize. It was like my parents are, like I said, they grew up in the civil rights, during the civil rights movement. My mom had a best friend that was lynched because of voting rights. Um, my dad's from South Carolina, so we all know what the same type of things happen in South Carolina. So me and my siblings growing up, we couldn't really, they couldn't provide for us the tools to make it to the next level, to get out of that, oh, woe is me. Um, the white man's holding me down, and they didn't have the tools. Besides working hard, they didn't have the two other tools needed to have successful kids. So a lot of things that I had to learn on my own. Coming out of high school, I thought, went to Georgia State University. I thought, oh yeah, I'm okay. I got the Hope Scholarship. I'm good. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna tear it up. I flunked out the first year. I flunked out the first year because I didn't have the necessary tools to make it through the particulars of going to college. The going to school part was the easy part. For all the other things, like deal with the homeless people, riding the train to class. I was living at home, getting up, being disciplined enough to get up, to drive downtown Atlanta. I didn't have my stuff together. So I flunked out of Georgia State I graduated in 95 from high school, dropped out in got kicked out in 97. They kicked me out of school. Kicked me out of school in 97. Same day I went to a community, I applied for a community college, got into community college. Um, Went to Atlanta Metropolitan College, got my GPA up. Then I went to Mercer University. And a month before graduation, my girlfriend at the time told me she was pregnant. So needless to say, I was a semester shy of graduating. I didn't go back. I didn't go back until that was in 2003. I didn't go back to school until 2019. So in the period of 2019 to 2023, I got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. But I had to get out of the frame of mind. Oh, what was me? My past is going to, that's why I said earlier, my past cannot dictate my future. I made mistakes in the past. Okay. And we all made mistakes. Deal with it, keep on moving. You know what I'm saying? So those type of things I try to teach my kids, because I'm like, you have people tell you, oh, well, in fact, I had a boss tell me one time, I was working at FedEx as a courier. He was like, Fred, why are you going back to school? You don't need to go back to school. You need to focus on your job. That's not how I'm built, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's not how I'm built. That's not what I promised my mom. So I told her I was going to get my degree. I was going to finish my degree, and I was going to make a name for myself. I wanted to make my kids. I couldn't tell my kids to go to school, and I didn't finish school. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm not gonna be that parent that, oh, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna go get a degree. And they can look at me like that. You ain't got a degree. How you gonna tell me to go to school and you don't have a degree? You know what I'm saying? So I try to instill those type of things in my kids. My kids and my family is my focus right now, y'all. Because it's like that's where I get my peace. You know, they are my purpose. You know what I'm saying? When I started with the fire department, I've been there since 2019. I started out as a fire inspector. Right off the street, I had worked at a auto assembly plant for 9 years. I was building Kias every day. That was my job. I had rotating shifts. Um, every month I rotated shifts. So you go from day shift to overnight shift every 4 weeks. From overnight shift to second shift, which meant I was at home for every third month. I wasn't home. I was at work. One morning I got off work. This where I knew it was time for me to change. One morning on the way home from work, it's about 8 a.m. I had worked an overnighter. I fell asleep at the wheel, going around the curve. And I heard God whisper in my ear, Fred, wake up. I woke up, there was an 18-wheeler coming straight at me. From that point on, I said, I'm done. I said, I'm done. I took I put my 2-week notice in. I took a $20,000 pay cut, but I knew I had to get out of that situation. Otherwise, I was going to either lose my family or lose my life. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. So that was the time. That was in 2018. That was the time where I was like, I'm going back to school. So I went back to FedEx and worked as a courier. Left the job, went to school at night. I did that for a year because at that point my credits from 18 years ago were null and void to a degree. So I got my bachelor's in 2019 and I got my master's in 2022 because I just needed that inspiration from my kids. I needed that inspiration for myself because I knew this wasn't the end for me, you know. So I started working at the fire department, worked my way up, and now I'm a lieutenant. You know, so the stuff I did in the past, it doesn't even matter anymore. You know, it doesn't even matter anymore. So, like I said, I'm the type. I used to be a very impressionable person. So with the things that people said to me, I took to heart. I don't do that anymore. And that's just the growth that I had from being a 17-year-old freshman in college to a 46-year-old man with 3 kids, you know, so.
I'm speechless. One, because so I've known Freddie for over, we're not even gonna say, but like more than 2 decades.
It's been 3.
And yeah, so more than three decades.
Yeah.
And this is my first time hearing that story. And what I keep thinking about is sometimes you can know somebody for forever, and not until they open up do you find out either some similarities, some needs, some things that you probably needed to hear so long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they're sharing now. And so I just think it's something, again, about spaces that are created. And I know Meli MeL shared it before, you know, with spaces of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful. And I'm speaking just for me. I don't know anyone else in here because I ain't seen nothing in the chat just yet. But just so grateful that you have shared these particular intricacies about your journey, because people can look, and this is important about this challenge too. People can look at every single person in this space and just be like, oh my God, they got it all together. Oh my God, this person is a lieutenant. This is great. You know, sometimes we only post that in.
Right.
But knowing that you now have this journey and all of these intricacies in there that may be similar to somebody else in this room is amazing for them to hear, that it doesn't just stop there. Right? Like and I think that's something that every single person that said that's here. So I'm not going to ask you to share like the struggling, particular piece.
I'm an open book. It is what it is.
But I know it. And man, I can't wait to who's in the room with you today. Yes, because they about to really go in.
Correct.
But share more of, and I know we started with hope in
Mhm.
the beginning.
Mhm.
But what is the action that you think people need to take if they were in the same seat as you? Like, you shared yours, but now, like, put some pieces out here for what action.
You just got to pause. You got to pause and really reevaluate what's important to you. And that's what I had to do because I had two kids. My wife and I had just moved back from Indiana because she's from Indiana. So we moved back to Georgia from Indiana. We had one income because we couldn't afford daycare. So my wife went to work while I stayed at home with the kids. At that point, I had a 3-year-old and my daughter was like 18 months old. We had a food budget of $40 a week. That was it. So every Wednesday, I would go to Kroger because I knew that was the day they put out the meats that were on clearance. I would buy $20 worth of meat and $20 worth of filler foods. And I made it work every single week. And at that point in my life, you say, you know what, Fred? You deserve better and your family deserve much more than this. This is not how we're gonna work this. So at that point in my life, I was like, I said, the naysayers are gonna be the naysayers, the haters are gonna be the haters. I need to figure this thing out. And from that moment on, I figured it out. I figured it out. It was, I mean, don't say I can't say that my family wasn't there because they were there. My parents were there, my in-laws were there. We had people, we had a great circle of people. But ultimately the choice was mine and my wife's. Do we want to be stuck in this situation where we're scared to come home because there may be an eviction notice on the door? You know, are we were we to the point where we wanted it was okay to go hide your vehicle because you're scared of it getting repossessed? I I didn't grow up like that. So why would I put my kids through that? Why would I put my wife through that? You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter what background, economic background you came from, because my dad was a truck driver. He has his own truck. He was making $300,000 a year as a truck driver. You know what I'm saying? My wife comes from a good family, but that doesn't mean that that's going to automatically transition over to me, transition over to anybody. Just because your parents did well for themselves doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do well for yourself. You still got to put the work in. And and I understand. My dad used to make me so mad growing up because during the summers I was on that truck with him every summer. We'll leave home on Friday, and I won't come back until the week before it's time to go back to school during the summer. We'll leave the Friday after school and not come back up a week before school starts. He instilled that hard work. He said, "You got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. Everything is not going to work the way you want it, but you got to figure it out." So that's why I tell my kids, it's like sometimes you just got to suck it up and deal with it. Figure out what's the best for you. Plain and simple.
Ooh, has everybody been fed today? Yes. So again, thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Meli MeL. Thank you, Gloria, for sharing your story, for sharing your why behind it, and also for being honest about the pieces in between. I think that's a rarity in some spaces, but I'm so glad is what happens in here. And so one thing that I want to do, I know we are going to move in breakout rooms in just a second, but I want to share this slide first. This is happening in these next 2 Thursdays. And so the 15th and the 22nd, it will be other panelists coming in. Next week is about really making those moves that you see and putting some of those things in action. I know Freddie kind of jumped us into that space in here in this moment. But that is our focus for next week. And then the last week on the 22nd, it will be you sharing your quotes, you sharing what it is you learned, what it is that you put down. And I want us to be, affirmation seeking and affirming to the individuals who do share those things. And I know we'll have 2 more panelists and the majority of our panelists coming back into the space again to just hear those things and celebrate and encourage you, and then also share their quotes too. So that will happen that last time. The journal, I know that we're coming up with volume 2 of this journal. Many of you have volume 1. So that the volume 2 of the journal will have some of these amazing quotes that you all have heard tonight in them. So excited about that. And also, if you do want to purchase the volume 1, you can. There's the link to it on the website. And I hope that you come back next week as well. At the end of this time, you'll get a feedback form to share and share your thoughts about this, because we want to know whether or not this was helpful. And I hope that it has been, but you'll see it by what you do. And then what we're going to do, so if there are people who want to leave out now, you definitely can, but we're going to move into breakout room spaces. And in these breakout room spaces, there are things that you can choose to focus in on in your breakout room time. Each of our panelists will be there. This is a room for them to definitely, share more, but the goal is for you to do more of the talking. And the goal is for you to think about, okay, what are the things that I need to take action on? What are the things that I need to move forward in? And so these are things that you can talk about if you need to take a screen share, of the screen to keep it forefront of your mind. But these are the things that you can talk about within that space, or maybe something on your heart to talk about too. I always put people in random rooms. I'm not going to code who's going to be in which room. I just believe whichever room you land in is the room that you just meant to be in. And it's going to be good conversation regardless. But we're going to come back in this space in about 10 minutes. So it'll be smaller rooms in here. And you can share out those particular things with the people who you're in that room with. And we'll come back here to do a final share out as well. Any questions about what it is that you all need before I pause this recording?